The real reason why men treat women poorly. We're going to dive into this today and what a man needs to heal from this. So many of us walk into adulthood carrying invisible wounds from things our parents said, sometimes cruel, sometimes subtle, that shaped how we see ourselves and what we believe we deserve in love. If you're struggling in a relationship, it might not be about your dating skills. It might be about your emotional inheritance. You're not broken, you're conditioned, and healing is possible. So today we're going to dive into 30 wounds we adults, oftentimes adults experience in childhood. And then I'm going to lay out 5-step healing process, whether you're a man or woman seeking love. And let me just say this isn't easy work, folks. Takes some real conscious effort to actually work on oneself, whether you are a man or a woman seeking a romantic relationship. So let's dive into some of the cruelest things parents say and how they shaped us as adults. And again, how this has shaped us as an adult. So just want you to know, I have a list, so bear with me. I'm going to be reading from my notes, okay? 15 cruel things parents say. You're such a disappointment. You're such a disappointment. Adults may constantly seek validation or avoid risk of fear of failing again. And when you think about that, when a parent says to you once as a child, it may sink in that you're a disappointment. I know I've heard that from my parents. And I didn't know, and I'm sure my parents didn't know. I don't think they did this intentionally, but it created as an adult seeking validation, avoid risk of fearing or failing. I wish you were never born. Deep rooted abandonment wounds, low self worth, even suicidal ideations. What about you're too sensitive? Toughen up. Adult represses emotions, struggles to feel safe, and being vulnerable. I know I experienced that growing up from my parents. Things like you're too sensitive, toughen up. If you experience that one, please post a comment because I'm sure that's one of the constant things many of us heard growing up that deeply affects us as adults. And you have to understand these scripts that we heard from our parents over and over and over again creates our adult belief system, how we operate in the world, and it oftentimes creates negative patterns within ourselves and causes us to be small. Here's another one. Why can't you be more like your sibling? Chronic comparison complex, jealousy, and a lack of identity. You're going to end up just like your mother or father when said negatively. Shame around inherent traits, fear of becoming bad or broken. Think about that. I want you to think about this for a moment. Because, when I talk about childhood wounds and adult traumas in my videos, I'm not talking about severe abuse, whether physical or emotional. I'm talking about the subtle things that happen in our lives. And, as you're listening to this, you're probably checking the box. Yeah, I heard that one. Yeah, I heard that one. You're lazy. You'll never amount to anything. Either hyper achieving perfectionism or paralyzing self-doubt. Think about that, paralyzing self-doubt or hyper perfectionism. Are any of you hyper achieving, hyper perfectionist? I know many of the clients I work with might be feeling one or the other, and I suspect it's from a script they heard from their childhood. Shut up, nobody wants to hear you. Fear of speaking up, social anxiety, creative suppression. What about this one? You're so fat, ugly, or stupid. Lifelong body image issues, dysmorphia, or eating disorders. I know I heard something similar to that. Many of you that watch my channel know that I had a third grade teacher say to the classroom, to everyone, "You're stupid. You're stupid." And I want you to know something. This carried a deep wound in my life. I have, for the longest time, have thought I've been stupid. It's interesting because I still sometimes feel it today. It shows up in a variety of different ways that I'm incapable, I'm incompetent. Just because one teacher said that to me in childhood, it created an ingrained message script inside of me. And I want you to know all of these scripts are like code, computer code. I want you to think of, if you're familiar with coding at all, there are lines in code, lines of code. I'm talking about a computer program, lines of code, lines of code, lines of code, lines of code. Well, these scripts that we heard growing up are similar to these lines of code. And there's no wonder we humans, dare I say, have flaws. We have glitches. We have viruses in our emotional well-being because many of us haven't healed from that. And as I said to you a moment ago, I'm going to share with you a 5-step healing process, okay? Stop crying. I'll give you something to cry about. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at that one because it's so cruel. It creates emotional repression, disassociation, and explosive anger later on in life. That's interesting. Explosive anger later on in life. Stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about. What that I think that suggests to me is a stuffing down of our emotions. And so it's no wonder humans blow up at times. They need to vent because they've been repressed as children to stuff their emotions. You ruined my life. How about that one? Guilt, chronic people pleasing, belief that they're a burden. You're bad. Look at that. Internalized shame, belief that they are the problem, not that they have one. I mean, think about that. Internalized shame just by saying you're bad. Think about it. And I know I did this to my son. I'm looking at the picture of my children behind me. I know I did that to my boys, and I feel so terrible. Some of these things I even said to them, not wishing to harm them, not being intentional, but I will own that I've said that. And I'm sure that has ramifications, certainly as my adult son probably is navigating life because I created scripts that made him think he wasn't worthy. And it beats me up internally as a father that I did that. It breaks my heart that this could affect him in his love life at some point in time. And I know some people are just saying, well, just, toughen up. We're adults. We need to handle it. But when you're talking about years and years and years of scripting, and certainly I was a loving parent. I'm sure you were a loving parent to your children. I'm sure your parents might have been loving parents. But think about the habitual scripting. You'll never amount to anything. Fear of making mistakes, procrastination, imposter syndrome. I know I heard that from my mom. No one will ever love you if you act like that. How about that one? Or how about no one will ever love you like I love you? Attachment issues, fear of rejection, performative relationships. Think about that. I'm sure if this happened to you, did your parents ever say, no one will ever love you the way I did? How about I'm ashamed of you? Oh my God, I know that happened to me. I remember one specific incident where I did something. I opened up presents to something my father bought for a picnic a party that my dad was responsible for the presents, and I opened them all up. I'm ashamed of you. And I heard that as a 10-year-old boy. Core shame, self-loathing, hiding authentic self. Grow up, stop acting like a baby. Grow up, stop acting like a baby. Disconnect from the inner child, emotional bypassing, unresolved trauma. And those are the cruel ones. What about the less cruel ones? I'm only hard on you because I love you. Confusion between love, criticism, acceptance, tied to performance. I'm only hard on you because I love you. How about this one? You'll understand when you're older. Dismissing feelings, creating emotional walls and distrust. My God, I said that to my son. You'll understand when you get older. But by the way, I think I said that to him as an adult. So I'm just going to say, I told him, being a parent is really tough. Is really tough. How about this one? Boys don't cry. Girls must be nice. Boys don't cry. Girls must be nice. Gender role rigidity, repression, and inauthenticity. We don't talk about things like that in this family. Silence around difficult emotions experiences emotional constipation. I have a dear friend, she's Asian, and she tells me the stories of things just like that. We don't talk about this in our family. I know I know within the Asian culture, there's this tight lipped about sharing publicly things. And she shared with me the emotional trauma she experienced. And she has good mother and father. She cares for them. She loves them dearly. But there's this scripting that we heard over and over and over again. And again, I'll share a 5-step healing process in a moment. You're fine when you're clearly not. Gaslighting instincts, adult questions their own emotions. Think about that. When your parents tell you you're fine when you're clearly not, they are gaslighting you. I'm sorry. I'm laughing at this because it didn't occur to me. Adults question their own emotions. You're always or you'll never. Fixed mindset labels, black and white thinking. That's just how life is. Get over it. Emotional numbness, avoidance, toxic resilience. That's just how life is. Get over it. How many times have your parents said, just get over it when you were a child? Just get over it. Have you ever said it to your own children? I know I have. It's not that big of a deal. Oh my God, I heard that one. I can't tell you how many times it's not that big of a deal. Minimizing pain, disconnection from authentic self. Did you hear that? Minimizing pain and disconnecting from our authentic self. When our parents talk to us in this contempt manner, usually we did something to aggravate them, sometimes very minor. Sometimes we could have been annoying fucks. I'm sorry, I could have been that way. How about this one? Because I said so. Instills obedience over understanding poor critical thinking boundaries. Because I said so. You're being dramatic. Oh my God. I remember saying that to my son. Oh my God, I feel terrible about that. Invalidates emotional experiences, internalizes shame around feelings. Think about that. Invalidates emotional experiences. Do you sometimes wonder, you've heard it said men are emotionally unavailable, men are emotionally constipated, men are emotional zombies. Can you imagine what the scripting we men heard throughout our lives? And you can relate to it as well. This scripting oftentimes unintentionally creates a wall between us and another human being, especially when we want to be in romantic partnership with them, because all of these scripts going on in our childhood affects us as adults. Don't talk back. I'll give you something. Don't talk back inhibits self-expression and healthy conflict skills. We gave you everything. What more do you want? Oh my God, I heard that from my parents. We gave you everything. What more do you want? Guilt around wanting more love, freedom, individuality. You're lucky you have it better than I did. Dismisses pain as less valid, encourages comparison instead of empathy. Oh, I think I did that with my sons. You'll never survive out on your own. Dependency, self-doubt, fear of independence. And lastly, other kids don't act like this. Creates shame about natural development behavior, people-pleasing tendencies. So when men give mixed signals, or a woman give mixed signals, or a man or woman behaves or treats someone poorly, is it possible the scripting? I know we are adults and we are beyond our childhood, but many of us haven't healed from our childhood wounds or adult traumas. We are a population of walking wounded. So as I shared this, maybe we can have a little more understanding. Maybe we can have a little more compassion. Maybe we can do the work for ourselves because we can pay this forward to anyone else we meet in our life. So I want to share with you a 5-step healing process. And step number 1 is to recognize the script. Start noticing your inner dialogue in dating. Are you telling yourself things like, I'm not good enough? They'll leave me anyway. Trace these thoughts back to when you first heard them. So, If you're a man watching this, if you're a woman watching this, I want you to go inward and said, have any of these scripts you heard in childhood? And awareness and recognition is the first and most important step. Because if we can take ownership of this, we can take ownership of our behavior going forward from this place. Number 2, name the wound without blame. Name the wound without blame. This isn't about hating your parents or even yourself if you treated your children this way. It's about acknowledging that love doesn't always equal emotional safety. You can hold compassion for them and the truth for yourself. Let me repeat that. Name that wound without blame. This isn't about hating your parents. It's about acknowledging that love doesn't always equal emotional safety. You can hold compassion for them and the truth for yourself. Number 3, reparent your inner voice. Reparent your inner voice. Speak to yourself the way you wished your parents had. Say, I'm safe. I'm worthy of love. My feelings are valid. I'm safe. I'm worthy of love. My feelings are valid. This is where real rewiring begins. It starts by reparenting ourselves. And certainly you can seek personal development, self-help, and spiritual work or therapy. This is where my book was birthed. What the heck is self-love anyway? A journey of personal development, self-help, and spiritual work. By the way, there's a link below to get a copy of my book. This is where we begin to reparent ourselves, watching podcasts like this, watching videos, going to workshops. We can reparent our inner voice. Every morning for 30 minutes, I listen to an I am affirmation to help rewire my brain, rewire those thoughts in my head. Oh, in fact, if you haven't read the book, The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. If you have read this book, write it down. I've read this book. This is an amazing book to help you talk to the voices in your head. I highly recommend this. The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. Practice nervous system safety. Number 4, practice nervous system safety. In relationships, just don't look for attraction. Look for calm. Seek partners who feel emotionally safe and consistent. Chemistry without safety just replays the trauma. I want to repeat this one. Practice nervous system, Practice nervous system safety in relationships and in dating. Don't just look for attraction, entertainment, romance, and physical connection. Look for calm. Seek partners who feel emotionally safe and consistent. Chemistry without safety just replays the trauma. And lastly, date from a place of wholeness, not wounding. Healing these scripts let you choose partners from clarity, not depression or desperation, You're no longer trying to fix your childhood through your romantic life. You're building something new. You know, ladies, if you've been watching my channel, I know many of you say, why aren't men doing the work? Why aren't men doing the work? Well, I can relate to that. I didn't do this work 20 years ago. I was an unconscious man that had no clue of my childhood wounds or adult traumas. It wasn't until I hit rock bottom that I began doing inner work. And many of you might not have had to hit rock bottom to get there. I know I did. I know for many men, we have to experience a humbling event before we begin to shift. But let me just tell you this. I believe in paying it forward. If you watch this video, then share this video with someone that it might make a difference in their lives, whether it's a man or a woman. And this is simply a wake-up call to going and doing the inner work to heal, because everybody needs this, because we all had these scripts going up. And while we don't look at our parents as bad, believe it or not, they unintentionally hurt us, that affected our love life. And this is one of the reasons why dating, mating, or relating feels like the Hunger Games out there. And when we begin to do the inner work, we start to attract better experiences in our life. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know. I'd like to hear your thoughts on what I just shared. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. And if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos as well.